Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have assembled a panel of experts with our topic today about streamlining communication and how it can impact service reach. I want to introduce our distinguished panel who is here with us today. Many of you will recognize Sean Kingery, the Vice President of Fixed Operations at Kaiser Automotive Group, Stephen Hill, the Service Director at I-10 Toyota, Ken Malden, the Corporate Fixed Ops Director at Purdy Group USA. Welcome, Ken. First time here at the roundtable. Chris Martinez, the Platform Director at Jackie Cooper Imports in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Christian Ugarte is back, the Service and Parts Director at Group 1 BMW of El Paso. And Jeff Daniel, the Service Director at the Maple Hill Automotive Group. Jeff and everybody, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I am excited about this topic today and what we're going to uncover. And I guess I'll start with a question for the entire group. I know many of you agree that service lane capacity and efficiency are two of the biggest areas that dealerships need to focus on right now. Here we are early in 2023. And Sean, let me come to you first. Why do you think those are near the top of the list, if not the very top?
I think if there's one thing we learned, Ted, from 2022 is that you have to maximize every opportunity. You have to remove the roadblocks. And I think that's part of what this panel gets to, is removing the roadblocks as we move forward through the panel. But again, as we've all learned and we all preach, we are in the repeat and referral business, token to Tully, by the way. And we have to maximize that. We have to figure that. We have to remember that we're here for the client. The client's not here for us. And you have to maximize every bay, and every bay has a value. Every service writer's desk has a value, and they have to earn that right. I hate to say it, to have that real estate. And I think that's where we're at. And as the sales market is shifting and as the market's correcting itself, and we all know that it is, I think fixed operations and the focus that we put on it is more prevalent than ever. And I think as we're learning, as the 20 groups come up and as NCM and NADA grow, you're starting to see a lot more of that. I mean, Ted, look where you're at. This is now a 4-day panel that started at 1 day, 2 days, and you're live 2 nights a week, and you've got podcasts, and you're on TikTok and every other web. Look where we're at compared to where we were 2 or 3 years ago, and that's because of maximizing every opportunity.
Yeah, I love it. Steve Hill, from your perspective, here we are, almost done with the first month of the year. What are your thoughts?
Well, hopefully we're growing off of 2022, and how easy are we making it for them to do business with us? You could throw a stone. There's 20 other places that they could go to on their way in. What is making us special? How convenient are we making it? Are we streamlining them in? How knowledgeable are our people? Like Sean said, we've got real estate. We're not going to get that time back. If that bay is empty, we're not getting that back, no matter how much we try. So what are we doing to be proactive? And how are we building off of everything that we learned from last year?
Yeah, I love it. Chris, what are you seeing there at Jackie Cooper Imports here early in the year?
It's just what these guys just said, making sure that we're streamlining everything, learning from what we did last year and how we can grow, and ensuring that everybody is maximizing those bays. And there's a constant flow of people. We're doing more on the BDC. We're doing more to educate our staff to make sure that there's proper follow-up. I mean, just trying to build on last year. And so far, we're off to a good start.
Yep, I think so. Jeff, I know that how well we communicate with customers is a key factor in that efficiency and capacity in the service lane. Jeff, let me come to you first. What are you doing right now to help improve communication and service? Anything new, anything different for this year?
Well, absolutely. I mean, last year and the past couple of years have been struggles in their own rights with staffing turnover. We've been blessed. We haven't had a lot of that, but with that comes a staff that is, in my dealership, predominantly female. So what tools are we giving them to facilitate communication? They're not diagnosing a vehicle anymore. The old advisors used to open the hood and tell the customer what was wrong on the drive, and they'd write it up, and away they went. Everybody was happy. And now you're meeting and greeting and engaging and trying to facilitate as best as possible. And when you get overwhelmed, you do things like you start looking at new ways to check people in. You've got to expand your base. We're still losing customers to the aftermarket. How come? Well, we're not convenient. We're booked out 2 weeks. We're booked out 3 weeks. We only have X amount of real estate to utilize day in and day out. So you have to find a way to keep A, the base full, and B, keep your technicians and advisors engaged and happy. And every little tool and device you can use, especially check-in write-up process, something that's going to facilitate getting that customer handled and making it easy on the customer is critical to success.
And Jeff, if I may, recently, I know you just added a new dimension to that write-up, having the kiosks available. What brought that thought process on, and how did that come about, if I can?
Well, and again, you've got X amount of real estate, X amount of advisors. If a customer is waiting in line and they're in a hurry, they're already 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes late for their appointment, kid issues, dropping them off at school, and your advisor's tied up with somebody that you thought had a 2-minute conversation turns into 15, that customer is now starting to get a little overwhelmed. They're late for their next appointment. They're late to drop the kid off. Oh, wait, I can go check my vehicle in over there. My appointment's there. So we put a kiosk in for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to add staff. I don't want to inconvenience the people I have working there just to have another person to take keys from a customer if there's a better way to do it. And the way that we researched a lot was adding a dimension that a customer can walk up and punch a button. Average time it's been installed a week. Average time was 1 minute and 31 seconds. The average upsell was 22% so far. That's very, very, very strong, where they've added on top of their appointment just because we made it easy. The other facet of that is when they drop their car off or pick it up at night, you've got that mad rush at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever time it is. And all of a sudden you've got 10 people to pick their cars up, 5 people to check them out. Somebody's going to wait. Unless you're smart and lock the keys in the kiosk, the customer gets a barcode, they walk up, they scan it, they pick their keys and their paperwork up. They can text you back if there's questions. Their car's 15 feet away. They don't have to deal with anybody. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, absolutely not. Wouldn't have been, kiosk was way down on the pecking order of things that we wanted to install. Seeing the convenience after just a week, I see this as a win-win for everybody.
Steve, I'm hearing a common theme at this Fixed Ops Roundtable in a number of panels we've had so far, and that's convenience for the customer, Steve, and how that has come now very much to the top of the list, Steve Hill.
We've had to make ourselves convenient. Whether we've learned from past mistakes, we're building off of previous good fortunes. We're evolving and we're learning how it is that our guests are thinking. And if we're not making it convenient, it's not always about money. We've talked about that before. It's all those little things that we offer that they can't get at the other spots. But are we making it convenient for them to come in? And that's going to be the constant theme, I think, throughout this year.
Christian, your BMW in El Paso, single point dealership, Group 1, large dealership. How important is that communication with the BMW customer in your market? What are you seeing there?
Well, it's, like everybody says, it's very important to communicate with customers regardless, we don't want to lose the real estate or have a bay empty. We always want to communicate. For us, customers are getting used to the video. We introduce the video, another way to sell and show the technician working on their car, showing them all the inspection on the tires, the air filters, and et cetera. So customers are very receptive to the video. They like it. Now they expect the video. And that's how we start the communication with them. My advisors check them in on the drive with the tablet. And then we have the text messaging and the video. So the first thing is just the text messaging, welcome the customers, and the video from the technician. So they get to see their car under, open the hood and everything on an inspection. So they like it. So it's working out.
You know what? And I think that's now becoming expected on the part of the customer. They expect the technology. They trust the technology. It's not new anymore. In fact, if you don't have the technology, I think you're at a disadvantage. Many of you at your various locations all around the country have large Hispanic communities, and you provide service for those customers. And what are you doing right now to help that communication and service to those customers? Ken, let me come over to you.
Well, we actually have the kiosk on our service drive now too. We're running close to 2 years with them. And we piloted the program for the Spanish portion of the kiosk. It has made a huge difference, especially in our store here in Dallas. We have a significant amount of Hispanic culture that comes through there, and we can see an uptick in the utilization of the kiosk and the upsells from the Spanish side of the business now that they can actually hit the button and see it in Spanish and understand exactly what they're asking and what's going on.
And Ken, for those of us who don't know, give us the lay of the land. I believe it's 3 Toyota dealerships there in the Dallas area.
In Texas, actually, we have 3 stores: one in Dallas, one in Huntsville, one in Bryan College Station. I have made it a point. We have set them all up the same. They all have kiosks, anywhere from 2 to 3 kiosks per store. We are actually working on a process where we have our own fixed ops roundtable amongst our group, and we're having conversations now about actually doing away with their computers and utilizing the kiosk as their computer on the service drive, because you can print from the kiosk and that type of thing. So there's a lot of things that the kiosk, I think, is going to do in the future for the business and for the customer, because at the end of the day, like you said, we have to value their time. You know, he said a while ago his average check-in at him was about 1 minute and 30 seconds. We're running about 1 minute and 60 seconds, or about 2 minutes on ours right now too, and it's a big value for the customer.
And Ken, those kiosks, GoMoto kiosks,
Yes.
you have them on all the service drives?
Yes.
Wow. You know, I've been to Huntsville, okay, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the area.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Let me dig into that kiosk just a little bit more. You recently, Jeff, you had them installed. Tell us a little bit more about, what you're hoping to get out of them. You mentioned some of the benefits you're seeing already, and it's fairly new, but what are your thoughts there, Jeff Daniel?
Well, we're going to actually next week, I believe we're going to get through the holidays, but we're going to put videos on our website with the how-tos. So when somebody is running late, or our BDC, when they make an appointment, we're going to point out, by the way, you can do this instead. And we're going to track a date and find out how many people are actually taking that advice from our BDC or from our website click. And also have a click with, we'll have a Spanish version. We've got Spanish technicians. We've got Spanish speaking salespeople. So we want to give the option, somebody goes on the website, to make it as convenient as possible. Southwest Michigan, we've got a high population. They're transient. We get a lot of kids that are doing the translations for mom and dad. Mom and dad don't understand, they're nodding their head, but the 10-year-old is doing the communication. We've got the technology. Why aren't we utilizing it? So to market a little bit different, we'll put it on our website. We'll put on that, and the entire video will be shot in Spanish so that people can understand what's going on. We just literally, when you and I talked back in December, we talked about doing it then. We're going to get through the New Year's Eve holiday and continue on. Now we're ready. We're ready to go to the next level with it. So it's just to make it convenient, streamline it, get people. I don't care if they spend 5 minutes at the kiosk. It really doesn't make a difference if we've made it easier for our customers to get in and out.
Sean Kingery, you're in Wisconsin, leading a group of 7 dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
When you and I originally met some time back, you were in Florida running a very big dealer group there as well.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us a little bit about your population there in Madison and some of the benefits that you're seeing as well.
So for us, it's kind of different, because as you go north, if you go up north of Green Bay, where I happen to be sitting right now, it's not very Hispanic. But then you go to the city of Madison, where you have the University of Wisconsin there, and it's very diverse. It's shockingly diverse, by the way. And you go there, and again, I'll go off on the tangent. We talk about service contracts and giving the tools to your service advisors that they need to succeed. You don't have your service advisor running all around the showroom looking for the one guy who happens to speak Spanish, who's not even there that day, or he's off that day, or he's at lunch that day or whatever the case is. And then you also eliminate that communication issue, as they were just saying, where you have the 10-year-old doing the translation and you're hoping he's doing it right because you're talking at a mile a minute, like, because it's your lingo, it's what you know, but you're hoping that he's translating in the correct language. And again, it eliminates that roadblock. And again, to answer your question, Ted, you talk about diversity. It's shocking how diverse it is here, where you would have thought Florida was that way. It's more diverse here than it was in the Panhandle of Florida.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Martinez, what are you seeing there? Obviously, customers are comfortable with the technology, and the technology is here, and and as I mentioned, I think it's expected. What are you seeing, Chris, from your perspective?
I've got a couple questions actually. So, like for Ken, what was your turnaround time when you were doing it? Clearly Jeff, there's gonna be some time that that there's an adoption period, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what time frame was that for you?
To be honest with you, it's still evolving. We've been doing this now, like I said, almost 2 years, but probably the first 90 days was really what it took us to get our process system flow going, introducing our customers to it. And even today, we're still introducing some of our customers to it, but I do have a lot of customers now that have been through the process, 3 or 4 times now over the last couple of years. And now they're coming in, they're checking themselves in, they're doing the process, they understand how it works, and they actually like it. Our upsells in Dallas are running in the 50 to 55%. Wow. So, it's working very well.
I was thinking through that, I imagine it a lot like Southwest Airlines, right? Like if you've ever flown through them, you got 3 people kind of monitoring everything, kind of going through it. So I imagine it's a lot like that. We haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm still like the guy they call when the only other Hispanic at my Nissan store is out. So they'll be like, hey, does Chris speak Spanish? Let me call him up, and I might be at one of our other stores, and I think it's not funny, but I kind of laugh a little bit. But we're actively trying to hire people to fill that void. But that it makes a lot more sense when you can have some type of kiosk there to help manage the flow and have the customer not have to rely on hoping someone speaks Spanish, where someone could just kind of walk them to that kiosk and kind of just let them kind of go through it there. So, I think we're not there yet. I think we're growing, getting closer to that. I know we did try that in the past, but we couldn't get it dialed in. So that's why I'm curious on your process, Ken. And it sounds like you guys just got to stick through it for about 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, I'm thinking, I can't remember the last time that I checked in for an airline where I didn't check in on the kiosk, maybe some years back, right? Chris, remember when it was new and so on? And Ken, I think you used the term when we were in the green room before we started today about you had some concierges who help get the customer acclimated with the kiosk. And now you said customers are doing it on their own. Take us through that. Walk us through that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, when we first put these things on the drive, obviously for the first couple of days, we stick them out there. You assume everybody's just going to migrate to them. Well, you're changing the culture. You're changing how you do business when you do this. So we talked about it. We looked at it, and we hired what we called kiosk concierge, meaning that was their only job. And our goal was to check in 80% of our customers through the kiosk. So we ultimately
go back. What was the goal?
80%. And we have achieved that. We're running about 85% of our customers through the kiosk now. And we've been doing that for probably about a year now. Wow. So, and how we do that is basically the kiosk concierge is the one that greets the customer when they come in. They tag the car and they tell the customer, come with me, let's get you started with our check-in process. And they take them straight to the kiosk. They don't even give them an option. So, and a lot of customers have been wowed by it. A lot of customers have questioned it. But at the end of the day, again, like I said, we've got over 80% of them that go through the kiosk. And now I've got return customers that are starting to do it on their own without even having the help of the concierge.
I want to talk to you for a moment about what Chris brought up, because I thought of the word consistency, Chris, in making sure that, and you and I can relate to that, right? In our automotive background of offering the products or series of products or on a menu every time to every guest. Ken, I would imagine that with the kiosk, that consistency is off the charts in offering it
Yes.
to, whether I have a bad day or not.
Yes, it's non-negotiable, so to speak. We meet with our staff every week, and we have roundtable discussions. We talk about things, and we get their input. Both of my kiosk concierges in the Dallas store are both bilingual, so that made a huge difference when it came to the whole Spanish deal. But we listen to what they tell us, because they will tell us things all the time that we don't realize that are going on. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at our business from a 10,000 foot view, however you want to refer to it. But they're in the trenches every day, so they know what these customers are asking and what they're not asking. So that's a lot of the things that we have built our process around, is how they tell us that it should be done, and it's working. At the end of the day, we think sometimes we have the answers, but we really don't. It's our staff that's got the answers.
I think all of us on the panel are interested in ROI. I'll come to that in a moment. Christian, you've got a very large Hispanic population. Your dealership, El Paso, Texas. I know you looked at an option like the kiosk a couple of years ago. Okay, you were thinking ahead. Okay, where many retailers hadn't gone there quite yet. What are your thoughts? Hispanic population, BMW there in El Paso.
Oh, we have a big majority. We're a border city right next to Mexico, Juarez. So we have a lot of clients that come across the border in their BMWs to service them here. It's pretty big. I can tell you probably with an 80-20 Hispanic. It's big population. And I did look at the kiosk, but I have to look into it again, because for what I'm hearing, it works very well. And I'm gonna look into it and try to introduce it here at BMW. Customers, BMW owners are a little bit more of a one-on-one basis, and they want to talk to somebody, and they want to sit down and have a conversation with the advisor. But for a fast check-in, oil change, quick express, something like that might work. So I'll definitely look into it.
Ken, let's talk a little bit about how those kiosks have helped you boost revenue. You've seen a lot of success in that regard, and you've got quite a bit of experience now as well. Tell us about that.
Yes. The kiosk, when we first put the kiosk in, just using my store in Dallas, for an example, the store's always had a little bit of struggle with dollars per RO. But since the kiosk have come in, we've increased dollars per RO 25-30% over what we were. And I can probably attribute 75% of that number to the kiosk. It's at the end of the day, believe it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, customers would rather listen to a computer than listen to a person. And when the computer is suggesting something to a customer, and we have, like I said, I have built many, many menus for this. We've tried some, we've taken some down. We have figured out that we have to keep it simple. If you put too much on these kiosks, it still overloads the customer, so to speak. So we keep it simple. We have good, better, best. And believe it or not, they tend to pick the middle one just about every single time. But if you do the math or do the test, so to speak, we've done this with a couple of advisors and the kiosk. We've run tests on a daily basis. Okay. An advisor can go to a customer to go sell something. The customer is going to take whatever the cheapest option is. If the customer goes to the kiosk, 99% of the time they are picking that middle option, and that's where your upsell percentage will come from.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Hill, I would not even have thought about that, but Steve, it speaks to the fact of the consumer trusting that technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like it's an all-in-one setup. Not only are you able to sit there and have it speak the language, but you're seeing the ROI, you're seeing the customer preference time over as they've done it once or twice, and they're building that efficiency of getting in and getting out. It just sounds like an all-in-one option that from what Ken's saying, it sounds like it's really working, and I'd be really curious to see how Jeff does with it as well. This is neat.
Ken, I was not even aware until fairly recently that the Spanish language was available on that GoMoto kiosk. Was that one of the deciding factors for you, or how did that come about?
We have actually been pushing for it for probably about a year. We've had it for about 6 months now, if I had to guess. We have been pushing for it for over a year now. And part of the reason we're doing this is because we're working on a program to try to implement these in Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is obviously majority Spanish. So, but and I kept telling them, guys, I can't do this down there until you can give me Spanish. You've got to give me Spanish. So we pushed. They finally did it. We sent many menus to them. They built our menus in Spanish, that type of thing. We played with them. But it once we launched it, I was a little disappointed at the very beginning because it didn't seem to be catching on very quick. But again, like we said at the beginning, it's not something that's going to it's not going to grab and just take off immediately. It probably took another 90 days or so before the Spanish really started to kick in and people started to realize, especially the Hispanic culture, that, hey, we can use these machines. We can understand what they're telling us. And at the end of the day, it seems to be working.
Let me ask you a question that's a little bit out of the box, Ken. Sean was on another panel, and we were talking about if you will, a trade evaluation of the guest's car when it comes into the service drive. Have you done anything like that, Ken, and incorporated the kiosk into the vehicle evaluation or appraisal, if you will?
Oh yes. Going back to the kiosk concierge for a minute, one of the things I built with those girls, their pay plan is revolving around the kiosk too. So it has to do with the number of check-ins. It has to do with trade evaluations. It has to do with upsell percentage. Because at the end of the day, we work our pay plans. So I want to make sure that the process was being followed every single time with every single customer. So when it came to the trade appraisals, we worked out a process with our sales department. We have a very good system that flows now because for those of you that don't know it, there's a question on there that asks you about, would you like to have would you like to understand what the trade evaluation is of your vehicle? So I will tell you this, at the very beginning, customers all said no. They don't want to deal with sales. They're there to get their car serviced. They don't want to hear about any of that. So we had to figure out how to communicate with our customers. And again, we talked about communication at the beginning of this video here, that communication is key with our customers. So one of my kiosk concierges looked at me one day and I asked her, I said, how can we make this better? And she says, well, why don't we just ask them if they want to know what their car's worth? And I was like, wow, that's simple. Okay, let's try that. So our goal is to do 10%. We want 10% of our customers every day to hit yes so that we can get our trade appraisals. We're actually running about 15 to 20% a day right now.
Nice.
So we do about 150 to 200 trade appraisals a month out of our kiosk in Dallas. So
kiosk.
Yeah, and according to what the GM tells me at the dealership, because we track it just to see if it's getting any traction with sales, they are selling about 15 to 20 cars a month off the service drive through the kiosk.
So Christian, I am that BMW customer, right, who comes into the dealership and likes to deal with a human being, right, the human factor. So a quick story, Christian. A little over a year ago, I went in to service my vehicle onto the service drive at the BMW Center, and I wanted to get my vehicle. I knew that vehicle values had gone way up, right? I was aware of that because I'm in the business. And I tell you, I struggled, Christian, to get that dealership, because they were busy when I was in there for a routine service to evaluate my trade. But I'm just thinking how easy the kiosk would make that process. And by the way, I got a whole lot more than it was worth a year earlier. Okay. And I did trade and I did get the new vehicle. But Christian, I do, as a BMW customer, I do see a lot of benefit in that as well.
While I keep listening and my head keeps spinning, and I'm saying, okay, where I'm gonna put this kiosk, what I'm gonna do with it, because I guess it's a very good tool. So we have to mix a little bit of technology and train our new customers. And you still see it on the BMW. A lot of younger customers are getting into it. They're very nice cars. They're sporty. They come up with nice designs, but the tool seems to work. So I will definitely going to start looking into it for this year.
Ken, do you have any parting advice for somebody new with the kiosk? Let's say like Jeff Daniel or soon to be Christian Ugarte, who are getting started with the kiosk or thinking about doing the kiosk. Any advice for them about being early in the process and getting things going properly?
I will say that you have to monitor it. You have to watch your process and you have to make sure the process is being followed. And at the end of the day, if the process is not working, don't be afraid to change the process. These things, at the end of the day, it is the future of our business. I mean, it's where everybody's going now. Like you said earlier about the airlines. I mean, a few weeks ago, I went to fly and I wanted to talk to somebody at the counter and they would not talk to me. I had a bag I was going to check and I wasn't sure if it was overweight. They told me, go to the kiosk. I mean, they told me 3 times, go to the kiosk. You can check your bags at the kiosk. So literally, I had to go to the kiosk and do it. So I mean, it's the future of our business. And you know, if you stick with your process and you get your staff bought into it, that's the other key too. Make sure your staff understands what it's for, how it's going to benefit them, what it's going to do for them and the customer. Then at that point, once it takes traction, like now we've got good traction with ours, but every single day we're constantly, how can we improve? What can we do different? What can be better? And it's always evolving, and it will continue to be evolving.
And Ken, you were not looking to replace any service advisors,
No.
right?
It does not replace service advisors at the end of the day. I mean, there's still going to have to be that human factor, that human interaction. You know, I think it's more of a streamlined process when it comes to, again, how customers check in. I mean, if you average 2 minutes for a customer, you know, we do Lyft and Uber rides at our store. We don't have a shuttle. So literally a customer can check in 2 minutes and be gone. And then the advisor will contact them after the fact once they're creating the RO for the customer. But they can already be gone. And like they said earlier, already on the way to their appointment that they're late for to begin with.
Well, I'm going to have to leave it there, everybody. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank Ken Malden. Wow, just amazing information coming to us from Purdy Group USA. Jeff Daniel, best of luck to you. I would imagine, Jeff, there's going to be, as we just heard, there's going to be more and more that's going to be available to the consumer on that kiosk, Jeff. So I can't imagine all the ways you're going to be able to use that. So
well, and there won't be a sick day call-in that I'm thinking of. That was a question I was going to ask Ken, is how many people have called in, how many times has the kiosk called in sick or with car trouble? That's another entity. It's consistent.
That's the first thing I told my service advisors when we put them on the drive, because they started asking, is this our replacement? I said, well, it's up to you. You think about this for a minute. I said, they never call in sick. They're never late, and they present 100% of the time. It doesn't matter who's
there's no turnover either.
No,
there's
absolutely
no
not. Absolutely not.
And Ken, and I know Ted, you're trying to close this, guys. If he's running a 55% close rate on upsells, guys, industry average, just so you know, and I monitor everything, is 16 to 18%. Correct. Do the ROI on that math. It's pretty quick.
1 out of every 2 customers is getting something added.
And we're
literally it's driven up.
Average. That's
yeah,
big number.
It's driven up the dollars per RO, like I said, about 25 to 30% just in Dallas alone.
It's fantastic.
Anybody else? This is great stuff.
It's funny. My general manager or the COO of the company that day was talking to me about RO count, and using Dallas again for an example. And I attribute the kiosk to a lot of this. I mean, our RO count is down. Our customer pay RO count is down year over year.
Sure.
But our dollars per RO and our gross profit are up almost 30%.
Wow.
So we're doing more with less. And I mean, like I said, I attribute a lot of that to the kiosk and the process that's built around it.
Wow. All right, everybody. I was going to say, for more information at the bottom, you can visit GoMoto.com. Ken, I guess they can also contact you as well. Absolutely. I have stores that we do a lot of show and tell at our stores. I have stores flying from all over the country looking at this. Matter of fact, I had Columbia, the country, Columbia. They flew in 40-something people about 2 weeks ago from their distributorship and everything else over there for Toyota, going through this whole process.
Wow.
Very enlightening. Ken, we're going to have to come
back. I'm
back.
going to be calling you soon.
Absolutely. Give me a call. I'll help anybody out, because I'll be calling you someday too, I'm sure.
So, Sean, I see the next panel at the next Fixed Ops Roundtable with the update on the panel and how they're making out with the kiosks.
Yeah, it'd be a big one. Ken, you're going to call again to wood now, buddy. You're on stage, buddy. You're on. It's a pretty high standard of 50%. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, my man.
I have a great team, so they do a really good job with it.
All right. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank Ken. I want to thank Christian Agarte, Chris Martinez, Stephen Hill, Sean Kingery, and Jeff Daniel. Fantastic information, everybody. Very timely. Really appreciated all the great insights and all of your questions as well. The Streamlining Communications Impacting Your Service Reach panel here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.